Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? We're back with another podcast episode here today. Hopefully, you guys are all doing well. Obviously, we are not doing Saturdays currently. We're kind of in the ether as far as my outside of YouTube endeavors, but I'm gonna try to find a consistent time and date to do these, since I know that's a more organized, natured podcast that makes it easier for you guys to know when we do these. Lately, it's been Thursdays because that's the days I've been off. But hope you guys are all doing well. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button if you haven't already. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you guys are all doing well. Let's read the chat real quick. What's going on, Kedrick? What's going on, Seal? All these streams are going to be consistently on Thursday from now on. It seems like that'll be the case for now. Crazy coincidence, you started the stream at the exact same time as 6. I'll shout out to 6. Thoughts on replying to months or even year-old tweets? I normally try to avoid doing that. With that much time passing, the person that you're responding to probably doesn't even remember that. So yeah, I wouldn't do that personally. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Yeah, this year's certainly been an interesting one. We know Batman. If you guys have already known, Batman was really sick a while ago. I think the Lord is doing better. He's been in our prayers since we found out. I waited for him to tell everybody. I didn't want to, give out the information unless he wanted to. So I'm glad he's doing better. And he should be on the stream today. Actually, I think he's busy right now, but he'll try to make it. Shinobi's busy right now as well today, so he's not going to be here. But yeah, that was unfortunate that Batman had to endure that. Yeah, I'm glad he's doing better now, though. So W, it's definitely a W right there. So. Has Batman recovered from his health? Yeah, he's doing better now, thankfully. Yeah. There's Destiny versus Nico in terms of which of them is the biggest cuck. Probably Destiny, because Destiny was constantly being cucked by his girl. And Newell's had that one incident that we know of, and Sneeko as well. Have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine? I haven't yet. I'm probably going to watch it at the beginning of this coming week. Definitely really excited for that, though. Definitely looking forward to that. The most excited I've been for an MCU project in quite some time. So. Definitely looking forward to that one, though. Definitely. But yeah, thankfully Batman's doing better, and he's back. So health is always a priority, so you got to definitely focus on that. Captain America no shield versus Black Panther no suit. If I'm not mistaken, Black Panther without a suit wouldn't have the amplifications that he would usually have, right? With the vibranium aiding his durability, aiding his AP as well. Without it, I know he's a skilled combatant, being from Wakanda and being, from royalty. So I would most likely say Cap would win. Cap is legitimately enhanced with like super serum. He's enhanced physically, without any outside necessities. He doesn't need his suit. The shield helps him because he has the ability to ward off many attacks, but even without the shield, he is enhanced. Which version of himself do y'all think that Falcao summoned Sasuke scales to? His pain arc or war arc version? Naruto, he'd have a better shot in his war arc, with war arc iteration than he would as the pain arc iteration. Thoughts on the current state of Dragon Ball? From my understanding, due to the unfortunate passing of Toriyama, there are some disputes as far as Dragon Ball's direction as a narrative. Hopefully that gets sorted out. There's no one that can do it quite like Toriyama could, carrying that that name and that narrative for so long. But hopefully they figure it out. And the game that's coming out, It definitely looks very promising. So Dragon Ball Super, the anime, who knows when we're gonna get that now? Hopefully in the next couple of years at least. Um, it's definitely in a state of uh, ambiguity right now. I must say that, with the passing of the creator of Dragon Ball, the manga god himself. So it's in a tough spot right now. Jiraiya, honest truth. Jiraiya was a respected shinobi. I would certainly say he's overrated in some aspects. Many still believe to this day that he could have legitimately defeated Kisame and Itachi simultaneously, but it's very easy to debunk that. I mean, via proof by contradiction, a younger, less able Itachi fodderized Orochimaru, who beat Jiraiya, who's relative to Jiraiya blatantly being a Sanin. So that's the honest truth that a lot of people don't seem to want to accept or don't understand for some strange reason. But Jiraiya is powerful, clearly. He's a Sanin, and that's a very high tier for a very long time in Naruto. So I never expected Naruto to crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of all franchises. It's kind of fitting though. Yeah, the whole ninja thing. It's true. Yeah, it's certainly fitting. Boruto is very trustworthy, so I think Dragon Ball's in good hands. Yeah, I think it'll be okay, despite the seemingly tough spots, and it'll be all right. Toriyama sparked that idea, and I'm sure it's in good hands with Tora and the writers of Dragon Ball. So, but yeah, if you have any questions at all, feel free. Batman should make it today. We'll see. Nothing will stop this train, though. These pods will keep coming. I'll make it work somehow. Jiraiya versus Healthy Itachi. Healthy Itachi would absolutely obliterate Jiraiya. It wouldn't be competition. Look at him, and that'll be it. Do you think it's intentional on Gege's part to make Infinity work in such a way that Kamui Kakashi's signature ability counters that's Kakashi heavily inspired Gojo? It's possible. It's possible that the only way to bypass it is an ability that Kakashi possesses with his MS, so it would make logical sense. Most underrated character in Dragon Ball. It's Gotenks for me. Underrated? Perhaps Gohan these days. He's certainly not as beloved, I've noticed. Well, the superhero movie helped with him achieving Gohan Beast that put him back in the spotlight, but before that he was not as beloved. Underrated though. Good question, actually. I'd say Vegeta, but these days he's not. I think a lot of individuals are starting to realize the true monster he really is power-wise, especially with his, in the manga with him achieving Ultra Ego. Um, Gohan's still a good pick. Piccolo is, especially now, some don't understand how truly strong he really is. Let's see. I need to get better being stoic. I saw someone say they didn't like a character in story, and I insulted him before I changed my mind, deleting my posts. Stoicism certainly helps in life in general, from debates to your career to your relationships, your immediate, with your immediate family or whatever. It certainly helps to assess a situation prior to acting on emotion and impulse. It's usually better to be calculated and meticulous, even when your emotions run high. It's certainly the better option in most cases. So, which is stronger, the Super Soldier Serum or the Goblin Serum? That's a good question, actually. Now, if I can compare in the MCU, it appears perhaps the Goblin Serum. I mean, in Civil War, when Spidey fought Cap, he had the upper hand on Cap until Cap basically outsmarted him. You could argue that he didn't really outscale him physically, that he outsmarted him, and that's why he defeated him. But with the Goblin, with the crossover of Toby, Garfield, and Holland, the Goblin put it on Tom. He beat the hell out of him when they were on that skyscraper. So I do believe that amp seems greater, at least in the MCU. In the comic books, it may be different, but in the MCU, it seems like the Goblin Serum is the superior serum because even a more trained and wiser and more experienced Holland struggled with with the Green Goblin. So always funny to see people argue that Itachi only held back when fighting Sasuke in terms of not using Susanoo earlier and was going all out on every other aspect. Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense. Logically, it doesn't follow because he is undercover and is a secret ally of Konoha. That's the reason why Obito never decided to infiltrate Konoha because of that very reason. So proof by contradiction would indicate that not only was he holding back against Sasuke, but all other Konoha allies as well. If that were the case, Obito would have no worries of going to Konoha to take Naruto. Sasuke wasn't even in the village at that time. He already was a defected shinobi that was having other ideologies and ideological conflicts, wanting to destroy Konoha. So yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. The base tuning exam Sasuke beating Fifth Gate Lee or Kakuzu beating Pain in terms of rattiness. I think the Kakuzu one is perhaps the rattiest I've heard. Well, the rattiest topic I've heard or take I've heard that's gotten traction as far as like a following. Yeah. Tough out characters that have had the best character development in anime history. That's a good question. Uh, Character development. I'd probably say Naruto. It's very cliche, but I'd say Naruto. I'd say honestly Vegeta's character progression was great. Might be better than Goku's to be honest. He had more of a fluctuated character development where he's in conflict with himself. Goku had a more linear progression where he simply wanted to just become a better combatant, but Vegeta had all these conflicting emotions. When he started to care for people on Earth, he realized that he was becoming complacent and human as far as emotions are concerned. So Vegeta's progression was quite good. Vegeta, Naruto, probably say Ichigo's progression is pretty cool. Trying to think of some other ones. I'd say Eren from Attack on Titan. Um, he had quite the progression, very realistic character progression. Yeah, he became more of a nihilist towards the end, but that's a realistic progression for someone that endures years of war and trauma. You know, so it was good character progression despite the actions he took. Um, and then I'd say it would be a fifth one. Maybe let's see. Hmm. Who else had a good character progression? Sasuke honestly had very good character progression as well, I'd say. Sasuke is carrying put Itachi in a face down asset position that wouldn't have happened to Pain Obito. I mean, his illness put him in that position, but yeah. So much shame that the versus debate community is a shell of its former self. Nowadays, it was active as fuck before. Basically, every popular scholar quit the community. It's certainly a dying breed. You know, the debater, the typical debater archetype is a dying breed. Um, it doesn't have a good reputation in general because of Seth's actions. Being, a leader, he was a leader in that community, and the light that was shined upon it because of him wasn't the best. Made the community look bad, and that de-incentivizes people to want to get into that community in general because they have the preconceived notion that it's a fucking toxic ass, like nasty ass, just environment. And Seth did make it that, you know. But there is debate communities or sub communities that are very cordial and productive. They exist, as crazy as that is to hear. Project Hashirama versus Ten Tails. Prime Hashirama versus a Ten Tails by himself. He could possibly. I mean, you could at least hold it down for a period of time, but the Ten Tails is so massively powerful that eventually it would break free. I don't know if Prime Hashirama could defeat the Ten Tails in battle. So I'd probably lean towards the Ten Tails. I appreciate that Loco was willing to bite the bullet on Heavy Sasuke's killing. He argued that Danzo was relative to KCM1 in speed due to reacting to five codes on Sasuke, who was faster than his Heavy version. Yeah, Naruto versus Sasuke at the final battle wouldn't have been close if Naruto decided to use Boruto release. When he used it, Kaguya, he overpowered her. He didn't overpower, but yeah, he gave a good showing. I think Noodles played a big part in the debate committee falling off. He certainly played a role. All of those losers did. Him and Seth and all those guys certainly didn't help. Noodles is just a fake ass just person. He's not a genuine individual. Every time he comes on screen and he's in front of the public, he puts on a persona. He puts on a persona every time. I mean, he's admitted it to me that he puts on a persona. He's not a genuine person when he's online. I mean, it's very obvious. To be frank to them, the versus debate community was by and large toxic as fuck. Not as much as people portrayed it, but you need thick skin to make a name for yourself. I mean, in any competitive setting, you need thick skin because no matter who you are, you'll have your losses, and losses hurt. You got to be able to swallow those painful moments and like push forward. So just in general, I miss the days when the worst thing we could say was Seth was toxic. I mean, yeah, I was a fan of Seth before we knew the truth about him. I was probably a bigger fan of him than I was of anybody else. I was a bigger fan of him than I was of Swag, to be honest. I could relate to him. What I thought was his competitive nature. At that point, I could relate to him. Obviously now, I don't fuck with him, obviously, but yeah, folks, any questions at all? Batman should be joining us, so I think he said that he'll join soon. Got content coming for you folks as well. So one video being currently edited, another video being currently scripted, and then I'm gonna pay an editor for that one. So it's definitely content coming. I was massive Seth going back then, low key ashamed of that. Well, we didn't know at the time, so. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Have you heard of the Mr. B situation? Yeah, with his friend that got exposed for pedophilia. I'm glad that Mr. Beast was open about not defending that at the very least, not defending his friend's actions. Yeah, that can't be tolerated. It can't be tolerated whatsoever. No matter who you are, that has to be denounced and rebuked. You can't support that if you're a proper and moral human being. So, never got your opinion on the Diddy case. Diddy has always had this mystery about him. There's always been talks that he's done things like gotten Pac killed and is a pedophile, and I think a lot of those things are coming to light now, to the point where it's a legal problem for him. So perhaps all those rumors were true to an extent. Obviously, the pedo shit and all that is pretty much true if law enforcement is able to make a legal case against him. If the burden of proof has been satisfied to perhaps be beyond a reasonable doubt, then Diddy isn't the best person. Obviously, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, but it doesn't seem good for him at all. So, GT might be the most hoed character in the franchise. The guy was set up at the end of the OG series to be Goku's successor. Oh, to spend the entirety of GT, the Yamcha's tier jobber. Yeah, GT was interesting, for sure. But yeah, folks, expect some content for sure. Definitely trying to get that out. What's going on, Mr. Pillow? What's going on, bud? And again, any super chats, folks, takes priority. So Any super chats are greatly appreciated for sure. What are your thoughts on Destiny as a debater? He's clever, but he does use a lot of sophist tactics. I think he conflates statistics with, statistics of not exactly the topic at hand, or rather statistics that would help him in a different topic, although they are similar to statistics that would help him in a certain topic. He's very good at red herring, I'd say, very subtly. He's intelligent, but I do believe his emotions cloud his judgment, especially recently with the nasty ass shit he's been saying about like people that support Trump and stuff like that. It's just disgusting. Saying that like he wishes Trump, like anyone that supports Trump is just he wouldn't care if he died and shit like that. It's disgusting. I mean, Destiny's obviously self-destructing. Doesn't mean much to be frank. Sugar Nice, Snoop Dogg, Big Game anymore. I've been accused of the same thing. Yeah, that's not really what the problem is for him. The problem is the legal shit with the pedo shit and all that. Thoughts on Destiny mocking the firefighter? That was disgusting. He should be ashamed of himself. It's disgusting. It's pathetic, honestly. Shouldn't, even if your political opposition is shot at, you shouldn't be fucking like celebrating their death. That's disgusting. I don't fuck with Destiny at all after that. He's pathetic to me. I mean, he already was because he's a fucking cuck, but he's even more pathetic to me now. So yeah, I don't fuck with him at all. Disney XD versus Nicktoons. Oh, easily Nicktoons for sure. When I was a kid, I watched much more Nicktoons than Disney XD. I watched Disney XD when there's nothing on Nicktoons or Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. Favorite anime MC? Probably Goku. I mean, I'm biased, but probably Goku. It's weird that anime Beerus is weaker than MUA Goku, but manga Beerus is stronger than Black Frieza. Guess Weez was capping when he said that Super Saiyan Blue Goku Vegeta versus Beerus would be a good fight. There's so many constant retcons that it's kind of the norm, especially in Super. Not surprised. The whole Beerus scaling has been extremely messy since Battle of Gods. I mean, there he was apparently going 70%, and apparently in the manga he's still stronger than fucking. Yeah, it's very strange. I agree. Retcons have been the norm with Super. One of the biggest problems with Super scaling and narrative in general because of the logical inconsistencies with that. So, but yeah, folks, any questions at all? Did you ever read the JJK leaks? I haven't yet. No, I need to read them though. I know Sukuna currently is essentially a cockroach, so that's what I've heard. The trolling that came out of the Kendrick versus Drake beat was underrated. Drake crushing a car on the same model as Kendrick, and Kendrick being the shit out of an album. Yeah, I mean they're both great at that. They're very good antagonists. Obviously, very very clever. Would you consider Future Trunks as a main character or side character? Mm, probably more of a side character in most arcs, I'd say. On most arcs. Trunks in general, I should say. Biggest retcon in plot hole Naruto and Dragon Ball. Biggest retcon in Naruto? Perhaps. You could argue Hiruzen being stated as the strongest Hokage and then clearly being retconned in Shippuden. Or. It's another one. That one was pretty big. I'm trying to think of one that's larger than that. Kisame was clearly a retcon. Him believing that he'd lose to Jiraiya and then him later on slaying Killer Bee. I mean, clearly there seemed to be a retcon there as well. I'd probably say Hiruzen is the biggest. Dragon Ball, Beerus, it's constant retcons. I mean, they're constant. There really isn't just one. In general, he is the biggest retcon machine in Dragon Ball. Plot holes. There's a lot of plot holes in the Goku Black arc with the timeline. That's the biggest plot hole I can remember. With Naruto, perhaps an illogical just action was by Obito never going after Naruto when he could have simply just convoyed into Konoha and taken him. Um, it's definitely after Itachi's death when Itachi was no longer a threat. That's legitimately like illogical. It's wild how a hype introduction can carry losers. Lee and future Trunks do one and two cool things and spend the rest of their little series walking out. Yeah, it's true. They just left such a impressive impression on the fandom that they never lost that love that they garnered, essentially, with Lee versus Gara, with Trunks. So they were basically grandfathered in to that rare air of beloved characters, simply. So that's basically what it is. Kendrick Lamar versus Jay Z. I don't know why. So no hate on Jay Z, but I don't get why he's so high on the totem pole as far as all-time greats. Like, yeah, he's a great rapper, but one of the greatest. I just don't see that. I don't. I think like I felt like he's grandfathered in there just because he's been around so long and been relevant for so long. It's strange. I don't think he's asked or anything, but I think Lamar is better all time. Yeah, and obviously, and I'm a Drake fan saying that. Um, so I do think Lamar. Kendrick versus Lil Wayne. That's a tough one. Lil Wayne does have some heat throughout his career. I think Lil Wayne at his peak was a bigger hit maker than Kendrick, in my opinion. I'd probably go with Wayne, honestly. If we're talking about as a lyricist, Lamar is more talented. As like a pure lyricist, I'd say Lamar. Thoughts on Taylor-Made Freestyle and Ether? Ether is one of the greatest disses of all time. It's just blatantly, arguably the best. Taylor-Made Freestyle was more of a troll, but it was very well done. It was very well done. It was sort of a end of 8 Mile uh, rap verse type of track because what Drake did with that was basically flame himself to where Lamar couldn't use the typical roasts that he would have most likely used. Kind of like how Eminem at the end of 8 Mile roasted himself and beat Papa Doc. It was kind of that. It was the same sort of nature with that track. So Lamar had to go to the pedophile route. Even though it's not true, that's all he had left. But it worked. I mean, a lot of people call him Drake a pedo, even though it's just ridiculous. Obito wanted Naruto and Sasuke to fight was something I never understood. If Sasuke killed Naruto, what happens with Infinite Tsukuyomi? Perhaps. You could argue that he wanted him to beat Naruto down to make it easier for him to capture him. There's that too. And you could also argue that because Itachi cares about Sasuke, he's not going to stop Sasuke from. He's not going to hurt Sasuke necessarily or kill Sasuke due to him fighting Naruto. So, but yeah, I see what you're saying though. Not Like Us is probably already the biggest diss track of all time. Statistically, you could argue that it's not the best diss track though. Family Matters, in my opinion, is a better diss track, but you could argue popularity wise, yeah, it's in the clubs, it's all over the place. So yeah, I agree with that. Statistically, it's the biggest. Whereas Not Like Us in the diss track totem pole, it's up there. I think there's several that are better. Ether, Family Matters, in my opinion. I'm biased, obviously, but I do believe Family Matters is a more a better written diss track. I still don't know why Drake was glazing Taylor so much in that song, though he called her the biggest gangster. And that's basically to imply that she is Kendrick's superior, that she made Kendrick, right, with some of his biggest tracks prior to this beef being with Taylor. So that's basically what he's implying. Also, what's your favorite diss track of all time? Favorite diss track? It might be Ether. Ether was pretty prolific. Or 50 Cent. Some of his diss tracks are up there as well. Probably Ether, I'd say. I mean, I'm biased. I'm going to say Family Matters is up there too, but I think Ether's still above Family Matters, in my opinion. That was a kill shot. Yeah, the Ether was a kill shot. And I do believe Meet the Grams was better than Not Like Us as far as a diss. Perhaps it's not as good of a club song. You're not going to bump that shit in the club, but it's a better diss track, in my opinion. It was more well written and more intense, and it dug deeper into Drake's persona, and like it was a more blatant and effective attack on Drake's character. That shit attacked him, his manhood, fucking like his fatherhood, like his ability to be a father. Like it was deep. That was a great diss track. I'm surprised it took so long for Biden to give up on trying to be president and shit it does here. I think his pride was part of it, and I also think that the Democrats didn't want that to happen, but because he looked so terrible during the debate with Trump, they had no choice. It was like fucking clear as day that he was senile and just incompetent mentally due to mental decline. It was so blatant that the Democrats could not hide that any longer. They had to replace him. Uh, do you think Gojo Sukuna and other top 10 characters can fend off the Saiyan invasion saga? Like guys like Goku, things like that. Hell no, no, they're not. They wouldn't stand a chance. Who's the biggest troll in the rap game? 50 Cent. Probably 50. I agree with you. Probably 50. 50 is the best troll that I know. Ether versus No Vaseline. No Vaseline was a good diss, but Ether was like prolific. Uh, yeah, it was pretty prolific. Pac's diss against Biggie was great. Hit him up, I think. Pretty fire. That one cut deep. The shit he said too. That one cut real deep, real personal. Kind of like Meet the Grams, real personal. But yeah, Not Like Us it's a good diss track, but it's not up there with those. It's a great club song. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the best. Fucking not even close to top five diss tracks. Besides the You the Black Messiah, wifing up a mixed queen, and hit Vanilla Cream to help out with your self-esteem line, if all matters, the rest of this is on that. Aged poorly. That's debatable. I meant Vegeta and Nappa in their respective power levels at the time. Vegeta and Nappa would absolutely obliterate the JJK verse. Yeah, they're Vegeta specifically is well above planetary. So yeah, that wouldn't be competitive whatsoever. If we go in character, saying our Goku, Vegeta would shit talk Gojo, then get folded by Infinity. Well, what Vegeta could do is he would just fly it out of Earth and blow Earth up. That's all he has to do. And Goku, that's not in character form, but Vegeta would possibly do something like that. They have no shot. Uh, yeah, folks, any questions at all? Hopefully, next podcast or two, we got the whole squad. And I'm gonna try to schedule these ahead of time too, so you guys know when. My schedule is just sort of very disorganized right now due to the change in uh, scheduling with my outside endeavors and stuff like that. So who's winning a diss battle, Drake or J. Cole? And they're both out for blood. Man, probably Drake can really rap though, but I'd probably say Cole. Cole will probably still beat him in straight up diss battle. Uh, Cole is very talented. He's a very talented lyricist. So I'd probably say Cole. Sasuke Retrieval Gara versus the Seven. Sasuke Retrieval Gara versus the Seven. His speed would be far beyond anything the Seven are capable of. The top speedsters, which are Homelander and A-Train, are only capable of going at max like Mach 3. And that's in the comic books. I think in the TV show it's even slower, so they'd get absolutely obliterated by Gara. His speed would be far too much. The pressure of his sand would suffocate the majority of the Seven. If not crush them, it would suffocate them as they do need oxygen, including Homelander. It could just suffocate Homelander. If he can't crush him because of durability, he can suffocate him. He would obliterate the Seven. Avengers Hulk: The Honest Truth. Disappointing is the best way I could put it, especially in Endgame and Infinity War when they made him a pussy and he didn't want to fight Thanos. That is such an oxymoron because Hulk's whole thing is combat. Like, he lives for it. He doesn't fear no man. That's absolutely ridiculous if they did that. Disappointing is the perfect word for Avengers Hulk in the MCU. Shikamaru versus Akira case. Now, I've actually debated this before. In general, I've debated Shikamaru versus Light Yagami. Now, you could argue that because of Shinobi's physiology, that they fire off commands within their brain, right? Their neurons fire faster than a human because of the speeds that they operate at, right? In combat and etc. So Shikamaru would be ahead of the game as far as the cat and mouse game that L and Light had because of his superior brain speed, I guess you could say. Not only is he obviously physically faster, obviously his brain is as well, right? His perception speed. So he would come to deductions much quicker than Light could, right? That would be the best sort of advantage he'd have. Now, their IQs are probably relative, to say the least. Light was arguably the most intelligent man on Earth, being able to go toe to toe with L, right? Being the world's greatest detective. Now, could he solve the cure case? Though, if we're doing in character, let's say we just magically put Shikamaru into Light Yagami's world, he's not going to be familiar with the technology of that society, right? He's used to the more so pre-industrial revolution environment of OG Naruto. If we're talking Boruto Shikamaru, he is familiar with it because the technological age already hit there. So if it's adult Shikamaru, he would even have that disadvantage, and he would solve the cure case. If L nearly did, Shikamaru would. It's funny how much of an L that Gaara versus Levi was for League. I felt to ever make Gaara feel threatened enough to go all out, meaning he was fodder to him. Essentially, he was. It was just his speed that was like shocking, but he never hurt Gaara. He never like broke through the shield. So yeah, you're right in a way. Joker versus Akira case. Now, Joker isn't a long-term thinker. What makes him dangerous is his chaotic nature. So I think like he wouldn't even give a shit about Kira. He'd be intrigued by him, but he'd know that Light would never figure out his identity. Not even Batman knows who he is, right? In most continuities. So I think he would maybe be a fan or want to maybe find out who he is, but not enough to go out of his way. It's very unlikely. That's why Batman, obviously that video's been done by Seth, but Batman versus Akira case is more compelling because Batman would, obviously, being a crime fighter, go out of his way to solve this. Joker wouldn't really give a shit, you know. Does he have the IQ and the ability to do so if he was out of character? Perhaps. He's very intelligent. Batman's greatest rival. So it is possible, yeah. Let's see. Do you think the OPM S-class heroes can fend off Vegeta and Nappa? During the the Saiyan arc? Yeah, I do believe so, yeah. Now they can, yeah. The current narrative being told has these guys above that already, so yeah. Dash versus A-Train. That's an interesting question, actually. I'd have to scale Dash. I know he can run across water, but so can A-Train. Bullets can be dealt with by both. You know, A-Train, as I believe a 3-year-old, was able to dodge a bullet, speed bullet, and depending on the caliber of the bullet, speed varies. So the lower caliber bullets go around 800 miles per hour. The higher caliber bullets can go around 2,000 miles per hour. Dash and Incredibles, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I do remember him dealing with bullets and evading them. So, I mean, it might be close. Unless I rewatch The Incredibles and I see a feat by Dash, it's like ridiculous. From what I can recall, it'd be an interesting battle. Now, Dash, despite being younger, he's around superheroes that actually go out and save people, and A-Train is in some like facade organization that pretends that it is a group of heroes. In reality, they're all like just political puppets that serve Vought. So honestly, Dash might beat him, especially if it was like a hypothetical adult Dash. Dash would take him and just pure skill. To be frank to Hulk, I wouldn't want to smoke with someone who no diffed me after I off guarded him. But that's yeah, I see what you're saying. But Hulk is built for battle. He doesn't stop. That's the whole point of Hulk. But I see what you're saying. That's how smart Sage from the boys is compared to people like L Light and Shikamaru. She doesn't compare to them because they don't give her those godlike feats that someone like Shikamaru and Light have done or are capable of, right? She is the most intelligent person on Earth. The most impressive feats are the more subtle ones when she's reading like hundreds of books in like whatever ridiculous amount of time that is. That's like the most impressive. When it comes to her planning and working with Homelander, it wasn't as impressive to me as Light outsmarting L or Shikamaru, IQ statements, nothing like that. So I believe they probably have the edge on her, I'd probably say. Would Six Pass Naruto and Sasuke have mid-diff 3-eye GBDR flag since you want to betrayed him? Now that's the question we all ask, right? Now I'd say more than likely to defeat him because Kaguya was implied and blatantly stated to be far above Madara, right? And Sasuke obviously saw 3-eyed Madara, so yes, I do believe they'd beat him if Black Setsu hadn't had betrayed him, right? So yeah. There was some weird kind of interesting tech in early Naruto. I remember one scene with a bunch of TVs powered with cylinders and some fluid, maybe tuning exams. Yeah, they were definitely on like the infancy stages of sort of like their own version of the Industrial Revolution for sure. You see some like glimpses of that. Plus the weird headgear Shikaku uses to communicate with the Alliance, or the integration thing Ichi uses. Yeah, you could argue those were more so amplifiers of power, but that's still very, very impressive, though. Yeah, you're right about that. Strongest person Batman can beat if he's never heard of his opponent before, has no countermeasures against him, and was teleported into the fight. I mean, strongest person it could beat with no prep time. That's a good question, actually. It'd be someone like around Bane's level. Perhaps. Arguably, he can't beat Bane without prep time because in most continuities, he needed to prep for him after his defeat by him. It'd be definitely peak human. He could beat a peak human without any prep. Once you start getting to superhuman levels without any prep, any countermeasures, without his utility belt, which already have countermeasures for most situations, given his intelligence, it would be at most peak human, perhaps. Anything above that, he just doesn't have the physical ability to overcome without, obviously, prep time. So, calmly or Flying Thunder God in terms of which power you rather have in real life. In real life, Flying Thunder God would be more useful, perhaps, because I could set up locations where I'd like to be able to teleport to at any time. Right? Calmly, I mean, I can go to another dimension and shit like that, but in the real world, it's just not as useful. Alright, so Flying Thunder God, I could have like these markings all over the most frequent places I go to, like the gym, work, whatever. Wouldn't even need to fucking drive there. I could just teleport. That would be useful, very useful in real life. Calmly, conversely, wouldn't be as useful in real life. So. You're not a fucking shinobi in real life, So, greatest soundtrack in anime. That's a great question. Honestly, there's just one. I don't know what it's called. It's up there. It's a Bleach soundtrack that I hear on TikTok. I hear it everywhere. I forgot what it's called. Like can't remember the name, but it's pretty prolific. Naruto's Sadness and Sorrow obviously is prolific. That's a prolific soundtrack. So those two are probably the most prolific. Dragon Ball, maybe Cell soundtrack. from the Cell arc. It's pretty prolific. Great soundtrack as well. Future over Eminem. I mean, in terms of what? What are your thoughts on John Berthnall as a Punisher? Oh, he was prolific as Punisher. He was the perfect fit. Truly the perfect fit. Great show, by the way. It was a great show. Has Batman ever beaten Deathstroke without prep time? If so, well, you think he stops here? Yeah, he wouldn't get any farther than someone enhanced by Super Serum. Um, I'm not sure if he's ever beaten Deathstroke because let's say he fights Deathstroke once, he'll always be prepared after that. Just in his very mind, he'll have contingency plans already pre-established. So if Batman sees you once, he'll be ready for you the next time, no matter who you are. He will be. That's just the type of man he is. But I'm not sure if the very first time they ever interacted, if he beat him. Um, I would assume so, because Deathstroke would probably kill Batman if he didn't beat him. So I would assume so. How would a Chakotsuki duo perform in the Five Kage Summit? Um, Hidan and Kaksu would get polarized. It's very obvious. Um, Sasori and Data would be interesting because Sasori is above Sanin. If you use the third Kazekage scaling and you use the fact that he is above Hanzo, being the greatest, uh, the greatest Sand Shinobi of all time, with Chiyo being below that, and Chiyo stalemating Hanzo on multiple occasions, with Hanzo sparing all three, weaker Sanins, but all three Sanins collectively nonetheless. So Sasori and Data would be interesting. His poisons, Data's bombs, he could level the summit. Now, what would be problematic for them would be the Raikage's speed. That would be a problem for both. Sasori would have to gas the entire summit to sort of ward off the Raikage, right? Because if he inhales that, I mean, it's a problem, obviously, even for him. So they could possibly get it done. They could possibly do it if they have the proper game plan. If they go in there just blindly, Raikage is going to blitz them. That's what's going to happen. Now, if they have a game plan, and let's say Sasori bombs the entire summit with poison gas, then perhaps they have a chance then. After that, the other duos would slam. Itachi Kisame slam, obviously Pain slams. Obito just, I mean, we kind of saw how he would do. Not even the Raikage could touch him, so yeah, that's basically how it would go. I got into a beef with a Facebook mod a couple weeks ago. Comment got removed, low key. Lucky that wasn't banned from the group. Facebook's a great place, man, to just debate people. There's so many groups and types of people, and yeah. Facebook is still a very rampant social media platform when it comes to usage. It's mostly older people I've noticed these days, as the younger generation has kind of shifted to X and Instagram and those other more trending, I'd say, platforms. Facebook is more of like a older generation social media platform I've noticed. There's still young people there, but in comparison to the newer ones, not so much. Great place to debate people though, because due to Facebook's size and influence, there's groups of literally any topic you can think of: anime, politics, comic books, sports, fucking anything you can think of, basically. Who's a rapper whose music that you just can't get into? For me, it's Cardi. I don't get the hype. It's a good question. Honestly, Travis Scott. Now, there's some songs I like, but most of Travis Scott's music I just can't get into. I don't know why. He's not ass. It's just not my taste. So yeah, I'd say Travis Scott. Um, Perhaps the other ones are just not my taste. Someone like Lil Baby. Lil Baby's talented, but I never really got into his music like that. There's only like one or two songs that I could listen to repeatedly. And those guys are talented, but yeah, I just never got into it. No, for whatever reason. So. But yeah, folks, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the, what's it at? Like button if you haven't already, just really appreciate it. And any super chats are appreciated once again. Let's see if there's any update from Batman, folks. Give me a second here. So yeah, Agent, I'm preparing to do my first collab, and the person I'm collabing with wants to use Funny Valentine and put against someone from Naruto. Have any thoughts on what character I should use? I'm not very familiar with JoJo, um, but if they don't scale to, let's see, if they don't scale to at least planetary, anyone that's top of the verse, late Shippuden or later would slam. Like, obviously Kaguya or Jura or Naruto and Sasuke, guys like that. Or anyone in the Boruto era that's top of the verse would slam. I'm not familiar with JoJo scaling though, but yeah, it's basically sort of a starting point. Strongest attack that Yaromir could block. I mean, it blocks everything. It doesn't have any limitations on AP. Um, so theoretically, a nuclear bomb or a Biju bomb, perhaps, it could block. Um, I think it's the type of attacks that are more interesting questions to ask. Like, for example, a true seeking orb, right, which has like negation properties. That would be interesting to see as far as an interaction. How would the Yotomi interact with a true seeking orb? Who knows? There is recoil though, despite the Yotomir blocking the attack. The very impact of the attack isn't negated necessarily. When, like for example, when Orochimaru's Hydra Snakes sort of pushed into the Yotomir, it blocked it, but it did push the Susanoo back, right? So there's still that recoil and impact that's felt. It doesn't like completely negate force of impact, I guess you could say. Honestly, except for Blast, maybe Tetsuya. I don't think the next class here is I guess Vegeta not, but one of the Daishin had stated that Vegeta was a starbuster. I'm not surprised. Yeah, his power level was pretty high, and it only took a couple hundred for an individual to be able to destroy the moon, right? I think Roshi was like high 100s, low 200s when he destroyed the moon, and Vegeta was in the 15,000 range, I believe, around there. And Goku was like 18,000 with Kaioken, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. So yeah, it makes sense. He could definitely destroy a singular star at that point. Yeah, folks, any questions at all? But yeah, speaking of the debate community, it's certainly like we were conversing earlier. It's certainly a dying community. It's not really thriving like it once was. Um, Me and Batman and Shinobi, that's why we have call-in shows to try and ignite a fire in the community. Have kind of invite people to the challenge of debating or in general. So trying to reignite that, however we can. Maybe debating other influencers perhaps would help reignite the fire, that spark. Um, but yeah, it's certainly different than it was even 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. The big community has evolved. Team Avatar versus the Seven. Now, I know lightning is used in Avatar Last Airbender, and that's a speed way beyond Mach 3, which is the upper limits of the Seven. Um, I would say Aang at the peak of his powers would probably be too fast, perhaps. People like Zuko, perhaps, if he could wield lightning and react to it, I would say as well, it'd be too fast. Team Avatar would win. It'd be too quick. Could Itachi survive Sukuna's domain expansion with a Yadomir? Domain expansion is sort of omnidirectional. I don't know if that would apply there. It's an omnidirectional thing. The Yadomir is an omnidirectional, so if he's caught in it, I would most likely say no. And it is guaranteed to hit, so it'd probably go around the Yotomir or whatever, as domain expansions are basically guaranteed. They're areas of effect with guaranteed damage. All right, so screen exam energy with the data book stat section claims that he has a higher speed than here's, and yeah, it's obviously hyperbolic. Yeah. Or statement used to hype up Neji at the time when we didn't know of the true capabilities of many shinobi, when the narrative was still fresh, when it wasn't finished. I definitely need to finish reading JJK though, or like catching up rather. I need to catch up to it. It's been a while since I've read like the newer chapters. Basically caught up, but I haven't read like the last 3 or 4. I need to catch up to that to see what's going on. The book statements for the Automator seem to imply that it's omnidirectional since it can grow and change its shape and size, though. Perhaps. At that point, that means you could beat it to the punch if you're fast enough, theoretically. But then again, we never see that interaction, so yeah, it's certainly ambiguous. His dad Kimijito destroyed 3 planets in his snap of a finger. Honestly, the Z fighters are only weak in their verse, which is usually the opposite for most characters. Yeah, planetary was reached very early on in Dragon Ball. Very, very early. While conversely, in most other verses, it takes a while to reach that sort of level. Like Naruto, it took until the war arc, essentially. The end of the war arc, at that. Bleach has strange, ambiguous scaling. It's hard to pinpoint how powerful these individuals are until later on, where it's obvious with, like Division Zero or Squad Zero literally shaking the multiverse. Like it becomes more blatant how strong people are at that point. But early on in Bleach, it's kind of hard to deduce. But yo, Jay, what's going on? What's going on, Niall? Thanks for bro. I think Majin Buu is becoming the most disrespected villain in DB, especially now. He's just some like fat and like jolly, ignorant person, ignorant entity. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Saiyan Saga Yamcha versus the Attack on Titan verse. I mean, he'd completely destroy the verse. Yeah, Titans would be fodder to him. If Roshi in Dragon Ball, I believe, destroyed the moon, I mean, by the Saiyan Saga, Z fighters are soloing the entire verse effortlessly. You know, no need. You need to catch up. Bro, DK's fire. Yeah, definitely need to catch up for sure. I've heard it's fire too. Favorite gag character besides Kid Goku? Gag character. Let's see. It's a good question. Maybe Saitama. Saitama's pretty cool. Like as a character in general, Saitama's pretty cool. Uh, be another good pick. Mr. Satan is a great gag character in a way when he was fucking tanking bites from fucking Kid Buu. I mean, yeah, he's pretty cool. I like Mr. Satan too. What do you think should be the Dragon Ball at this point? I feel like the hiatus is sign of corporate politics. Yeah, it's literally. I've seen rumors that that's the case as well. I just hope they respect the legacy and move the narrative in the right direction. I would say continuing with Gohan's progression, um, basically setting up for a great fight between who knows, maybe Black Frieza and Gohan or Black Frieza and Broly or something. Like they just got to make sure to respect the legacy Toriyama left, the sort of direction they could they deduced that he would have envisioned. So Bleach isn't a good anime for it, and at best Demon Slayer clears. I've never seen Demon Slayer, but it's definitely a good anime to me. Bleach is. I haven't seen Demon Slayer though, so I don't know if it's better or not. Smash Bros versus Mario Kart. That's a good one. I think when I was a kid, I would have said Mario Kart. Today, I'd say Smash Bros. I definitely enjoy it more now. When I was a kid, I was heavy Mario Kart though. They're both iconic though, obviously. Very obvious. King from One Punch Man is cool. Yeah, I need to catch up. That's another anime I need to catch up on as well. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Hopefully Batman at least joins for the last half of the pod. We'll see though. Any questions at all, folks? Also, for those wondering about a beef with a certain someone, I do have new content of me engaging in combat that I'm not going to post here. I'm going to post on the Clips channel, by the way. So make sure to go subscribe to that if you want to see an update on where I'm at with that, with the beef or whatever. So you caught up with One Piece though? Oh, definitely not. I'm definitely gonna have to apply myself to finish that. You know, that's a long, long manga. Worst episode from the boys. Honestly, it was in season four, at least it was recency bias, but the worst was that episode with that one dude that like fucking does shit with his backside and like fucking it was nasty as shit. Like with Ashley with her fucking kinks and fetishes and fucking basically Huey being SA'd by her and that other fucking dude, uh, assaulted by them. That was the worst episode. It was just fucking nasty. Like, why is that necessary? That's the worst episode to me that I can remember at least. It's fucking weird as shit. Uh, what's next for your channel? There's a combat sports video coming. It's being edited. I'm just waiting for the editor to finish. There is going to be a boys video coming. I'm finishing the script. I'm going to record that, have that sent out to be edited. And there's a video me and Shinobi just need to record. And I'm going to edit that myself. So there's several videos in the works, some with more progress done than others. So expect content. I definitely want to get into more comic books content, you know, with the boys and things of that nature. And hopefully, you know, I'm able to provide more of that. Of course, more Naruto content as well, but I do want to kind of branch out and try other types of content like comic books and other animes, crossverse as well. So, what is your current Kakashi ranking? Number one, Obito. Number two, Pain. Now, this is the versions of the Akatsuki that we see in the narrative. Number two is Pain. Number three, Sick Itachi. If it's healthy, I have him over Pain. Sick Itachi, Kisame, then Sasori, then Deidara, then Kakuzu, then Hidan. Konan, oh, I forgot about Konan. Konan would be at least above Hidan. I'll give her that much respect. At least. And Zetsu would be about the bottom. So, Zetsu Betraying Madara was good writing. Yeah, don't agree with that, but to each their own. I've been seeing people flaming the fuck out of the boys director saying that the MC getting Ace is meant to be seen as a joke. I mean, I'm not gonna like fucking stop watching it and shit and like shit on him for that. It's like part of the plot, but it's just fucking nasty. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, I'm not like outraged by it, but it's fucking gross to me. Like, I was eating and shit. Like, I don't want to see that shit, dude. I want to see action. I don't want to see fucking nasty ass shit with fucking people having fetishes. It's nasty to me. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird as shit. Least favorite anime MC. Least favorite anime MC. Honestly, hot take, probably Eren. Out of the ones I can think of. If it's Goku, Naruto, Light, Eren, Ichigo, Saitama, what other animes have I seen? Actually, I might actually wait. I like Yuji more than I do Eren. Eren's more, you know, of a intricate character, but I like Yuji more than fucking than Eren, honestly. Did you watch Gen V? I need to watch that. I haven't watched it yet. Heard it's good though. I heard it's not as good as The Boys, but I heard it is good though. Regardless, like it's still pretty good. So I gotta watch that. You should really read the Invincible comics. Yeah, I've been thinking about reading more comics. I read a couple recently. I read a really good Batman comic, and I read actually a couple Batman comics of like newer continuities. I believe I read a Marvel comic. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, I want to get more into that meta. So What are your thoughts on ninjutsu absorption in Naruto? Maybe it cheapens fights with Naruto like characters and continuously absorb attacks. Yes, it certainly cheapens fights, certainly. Um, and Boruto just oversaturated that ability. Um, but it was a breath of fresh air to see Naruto and Sasuke overcome that when they fought Momo, and they went, the taijutsu route to uh, sort of negate that ability from being a problem. But when Ishiki was just fucking absorbing everything, it is kind of annoying. But I think it's a great addition to this like ideological conflict that's happening in the verse with hard work and dedication, right? With Naruto and Sasuke representing that, and then God-given unearned power, right? Which is what the Atsuki represent. Momo represented that. It's even iterated between the two. When Naruto's like, that's not real power. You're fucking just cheating your way to power. Like this is real power. Ishiki, being just God-given talent and power. It's a good addition to that, but yeah, it is annoying to see that shit. Like, it is kind of annoying from a fan sense, OG Naruto fan perspective. Yeah. To Rama Honest Truth, I'd say overrated. Certainly overrated as a character. Power scaling wise, I think he's a cool character as far as like his persona. It's very very cool. But certainly overrated power scaling wise. Extremely overrated by some. Some think that he can outspeed Jubito despite getting blitzed and destroyed in half and literally having no chance. But that's probably the best way to summarize Tobirama. I'd also say unfairly written. Right, him being defeated by two retards and Kinnigan. Not that they're weak per se, but being defeated by people that dumb when you're Hokage, it's pretty embarrassing, honestly. It's just the truth. And I like Tobirama. I think he's a pretty cool dude. I think he has drip. He was a decent leader. He's a racist, debatably, but he did a lot for Konoha with the educational system and things of that nature. But yeah, can you name a series where the comic is better than the anime and vice versa? I'd probably say, let's see, anime. I can answer anime better than the manga. Definitely Bleach, because in fact, with Bleach, with the Thousand Year Blood War, I believe even the author stated that that's canonical over the manga because now he could do what he originally wanted to with this anime. So probably that, as far as anime over comic book or manga. And as far as comic book over manga, it's a good one. Dragon Ball's tough because the anime and the manga are both really, really good. Really good. Uh, Maybe Berserk because I've seen some Berserk. I haven't finished either the anime or the manga, but the manga has been better than the anime. I do need to finish it, but the manga has been better than the anime. Guts is a great character. You read the meme shown in manga Kagarabachi. It's actually decent. I've heard it's good. I actually haven't read it, but I've heard good things of it. What do you think is better between the Naruto manga and anime? The Naruto manga and anime. That's a tough one. I might lean towards the anime because that's what exposed me to Naruto when I was a little kid. I'm biased. I might say the anime is better. It really added greatness to some of these arcs with us being able to see actual visuals in a 3D sense with actual movement, right? Like the pain arc, for example, you just can't beat that moment when he's introduced to Konoha to fight pain. It was prolific. I mean, the voice acting in both sub and dub, the thrill, the fucking soundtrack, it was all brilliant. You really can't beat that. So I'd probably say that Naruto anime is better. Not by much. The manga was prolific, all obviously, but the anime was pretty good, pretty fucking good. So, but yeah, folks, any questions at all? Do you think Aaron's poorly written, or do you think those better MCs are just better written. They're better written. I don't think he's poorly written. Yeah, he's not definitely not poorly written. I don't like him as much though as the others, but he's not like poorly written now. If anything, as far as who's written better, he's better written than Yuji Tadori. Obviously, he's way more intricate of a character than Yuji. Even though I like Yuji more, that doesn't negate that he's better written. It's the reason why Attack on Titan is one of the greatest, arguably the greatest narrative ever told in anime. So Yuji's been overshadowed by Gojo for so long. Arguably, even now with Gojo being dead, that's how popular Gojo was and is, in the JJK fandom. What do you think Red Rush from Invincible scales in speed? I have to rewatch Invincible, but that's a good question. Given that it seems that Invincible is slower than Red Rush, he's pretty fast because, well, the travel speed, I'm not going to spoil too much because I have a video, but I'm going to say that the travel speed of Omni-Man is immense. It's higher than most would conclude. His combat speed is quite quick as well. Red Rush, I'll say this, at the bare minimum, is sub-relativistic to the speed of light. Bare minimum. I'll say that without spoiling too much, because I have a video on Omni-Man, actually, that he's involved in. So Red Rush is pretty fast. Let's just say this, he's way faster than A-Train from The Boys. Way faster. It's not even a competition. I'll say that. To be honest, I'm glad absorption techniques have been non-existent in Boruto. It's refreshing to see a variety of ninjutsu being implemented with different battle tactics. I agree, man. Definitely agree. It's great to see jutsus actually having an effect on combatants, right? Like the Rasengan Uzuhiko is amazing. That was an amazing ability. I'm glad it wasn't just simply absorbed by code or some shit like that. Definitely agree with that, yeah. Let's see, the Naruto anime and the way it came out is low-key ass due to the amount of pacing issues. Naruto Kai is good. The competition for the manga, though. I mean, the filler was annoying. Give you that. Who you got, Prime Jones or Goku? I mean, equal stats, Jones would maul him. If it's not, Goku would flick his finger and Jones would die. But skill-wise, John Jones has more skill. In Dragon Ball, you don't see grappling. That's the problem. Which is better, Popeyes or KFC? I've always been more of a Popeyes guy. KFC's not ass or anything, but Popeyes is just, the fried chicken is better. And I think their sides are better too. Like their mashed potatoes are bomb. What else is bomb? Their mac and cheese is bomb. KFC's mashed potatoes is okay. But Popeyes is superior in my opinion. It has a superior menu. The items that are parallel are superior. Their drinks are usually better for some weird reason. So yeah, I'd say Popeyes. Data books have some funny shit. There's a statement that Naruto gets stronger every time he says the word Hokage. Shit, that makes sense. He says it a lot. I just like the anime can travel 10 light years in 2 weeks. Thoughts? Yeah, I just say yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. That basically implies a certain level of speed. Yeah. And it's blatantly shown in the show in Invincible. So Omni-Man's fucking cracked as far as that's concerned. Speed now. So Thanksgiving versus Halloween. I think when I was a kid, I'd definitely say Halloween. But now that I'm an adult and I'm in like my bulking stage, and I love to eat, I'd say Thanksgiving to be honest. Honestly, as an adult, I'd say Thanksgiving. Halloween's cool still. But yeah, it's different when you're a kid. When you're a kid, it's like fucking almost like a second Christmas because of all the candy you get and shit. But when you're an adult, you kind of prioritize other types of pleasure, like eating and shit like that. So I'd probably say today, I'd say Thanksgiving. So, and the family time that you have as an adult, you enjoy it more in a Thanksgiving setting as opposed to going trick or treat. I mean, that's still fun as an adult, but it's different when you're a child. So, how old do you think Kamala Harris is going to perform? Will she beat Trump? From what I've seen of her in her rhetoric, she doesn't seem elite per se. I do think Trump is going to beat her. Now, is he going to destroy her like he did Biden? No, because she's not senile and incompetent mentally due to a decline and because of prolonged age. But I do believe he'll best her in a debate. He's a pretty good debater. Now, is he like prolific, god tier? No, but he's decent. And I think he's better than Kamala. I haven't seen much of Kamala in general. I mean, in general, we haven't, right? She's the VP. She's kind of in the background. But now she gets a chance to prove herself as a candidate. So we'll see. You can have any feast for any holiday, to be honest. Yeah, but Thanksgiving is made for a feast. That's the point. You don't see people having feasts on Halloween, like of an actual meal. Fucking candy, yeah, but you don't see fucking people making turkeys on Halloween or ham or or anything of that nature. So, you think the Voltron Empire could survive Frieza? No, no, he'd one shot their planet, literally. Absolutely not. Not even fucking Saiyan Saga Frieza, they'd survive. I mean, let alone Black Frieza. But yeah, definitely expect some different verse content soon, folks, for sure. The Boys, comic book content in general, crossverse, that's coming. Definitely coming. And despite me being more busy, you know, with endeavors, I do have more resources now to be able to get editors to put out more content. The podcast, nothing's going to stop this. I'll figure it out one way or the other, but content is going to be more uh, better produced and probably more frequent as well. So expect that. Got some great editors, so shout out to them. Editing is an art form that takes time, and uh, God willing, I'm able to have the resources to actually, pay these editors more frequently. So, could the Saints survive the flood from Halo? I'm not really familiar with Halo, so I don't know too much about that, about Halo. I heard it. I know it's a goated game though. I do know that. I was always a PlayStation guy, so I never played like Halo and stuff. I played Halo a little bit, but very, very rarely as a child. Tyler the Creator versus ASAP Rocky. Tyler the Creator, while he does spit some sus verses and shit, he can spit, man. I think he's a better rapper than ASAP. Deadass. I like ASAP Rocky's music more, but Tyler the Creator is talented. He is talented. How much money do you think he had to pay them to make them all break the law so fragrantly? See what are you talking about? You talking about Trump, or you had to pay them to make them all break the law so fragrantly? But yeah, tell the Creator, dude, he has some bangers, man. I think he's underrated in a way. His shit slaps, low key. Falco summoned Sasuke with the Curse Mark versus Painarch Sage Naruto with Nine Tails Chakra. So Falco summoned Sasuke with the Curse Mark. Here's the thing that Sasuke could do that a lot of people forget. Even in early Shippuden, he's able to shut down temporarily the link between Naruto and Kurama to completely stop Nine Tails Chakra from intervening. So Sasuke, knowing Naruto, would most likely do that. He did that before, so it's in character. It's not out of character for him to do that. And at that point, Naruto would be fucked. He'd be fucked. So yeah, Sasuke would win. Frank Ocean versus The Weeknd. The Weeknd. The Weeknd has more bangers. Frank Ocean has some hits though, certainly. But yeah, The Weeknd overall is definitely the better artist in my opinion. Donzo versus Hiruzen. So the question is, how much stronger does Donzo get when he gets all these amplifications, right? The Shishui's Eye and all these mods on his arm with the Sharingan and the Hashirama cells. What we can say is that he never felt confident enough to challenge Hiruzen, even post-amplification, right? With all these Sharingans and Hashirama cells, which indicates that more than likely he's still inferior to Hiruzen. Right, he does have Izanagi, which I'm sure would help, but he still deems himself as the inferior shinobi when it comes to Hiruzen, as evident by his very actions. Right, he never dared to directly challenge Hiruzen. He would kind of push the limits a little bit and sort of undermine his authority a little bit. But he would never go over the line to the point where Hiruzen would challenge him, right? So I still think Hiruzen would win. Truly, I still think he'd win. What's going on, Luis? What's going on, brother? That's an interesting matchup, though, right? Because of Danzo improving himself with these modifications. But yeah, but because of his actions and his hesitation to challenge Hiruzen directly, I would say Hiruzen. Yeah, a good example is when he's going to kill Kakashi, I believe, with Yambu, and then Hiruzen comes out and he's like, "What the fuck's happening here?" And Danzo stands down. I didn't want to challenge Hiruzen there because if he would have challenged him, he perhaps would have had to battle him, and clearly he didn't seem confident there. All right, so let's see, 5K Summon Sasuke versus Hiruzen. 5K Summon Sasuke's speed would be too much for Hiruzen. I believe he'd most likely blitz him. If he's struggling with Orochimaru and his speed and dealing with his combat and things of that nature, I'd probably say Sasuke, yeah. Susanoo would be a problem. The Genjutsu threat would be a problem. Amaterasu would be a problem. There's a lot of it in his arsenal that'd be a huge problem. Hiruzen versus Pain. Oh, Pain destroys him. Favorite dog breed and why? That's a good question. Favorite dog breed? Probably German Shepherd. They're very loyal, very protective type breed. Great family dog as well. So yeah, I'd probably say German Shepherd. It's a tough question though. There's a lot of other great breeds too. Who's the worst Hokage in political battles? Like as a politician, Hiruzen's the worst politician by far. Never, you know, did what he promised to do with Naruto. Naruto had a hellacious fucking childhood because of Hiruzen's negligence. Didn't have the guts to kill Orochimaru when he should have years prior to the Konoha invasion or Konoha crush. I'd rather it was truly just a lack of leadership when it came to Hiruzen. He's definitely the worst Hokage as far as politics and policy and impact. So Orochimaru versus Danzo. Due to Orochimaru's relativity to Hiruzen, I'd probably lean toward Orochimaru. I probably would lean towards him. In his prime, I should say. In his prime, yeah. Is it possible for Natsuki to become an Edo? That's an interesting question. I would assume so. I don't see why not. I can't really think of a logical reason as to why that wouldn't be possible. So if you have a trace of their DNA, I don't see why you couldn't make them an Edo. That would be some cracked ass shit though. If you had an Edo Otsutsuki, that would be extremely advantageous to anyone who could control that or make that happen. So, what if Tsunade stayed in the village? Hmm. If Tsunade stayed in the village, good question. I mean, she's powerful, but a lot of the major things that happen, she wouldn't be able to help anyway. Like with Obito and the Nine Tails, she's not fast enough. Things of that nature. I mean, she'd still become Hokage, I would assume, too. Not much would change. What Naruto character is fast enough to tag Omni-Man in a fight? Boruto era, I would say. Boruto, probably. Otsutsuki level threats, Ishiki, Baramo Naruto. Perhaps Momoshiki, Fuse Momoshiki. Guys, people of that caliber. People in Shippuden wouldn't be fast enough. I'd say that. 5K Summon Sasuke for the Orochimaru. Despite some people believing that he didn't surpass Orochimaru until EMS Sasuke, I'd say Sasuke would blitz. And probably Genjutsu his ass and take him out. What Naruto characters? I just read that. Sage Kabuto versus White Master Obito. White Master Obito. Sage Kabuto didn't feel confident enough to take on Obito. He even states it. I can't take on the Renegon like this. I need my trump card, right, which is Madara. So I'd say Obito. Chances of Trump winning with current events happening. Honestly, just from an objective eye, after seeing that assassination attempt, his popularity points have skyrocketed. If you even compare that to Reagan's assassination attempt and how that impacted the polls, it was immense, right, for Reagan. So it's more than likely that Trump is going to win. Honestly, after that, I've seen a huge turnaround with people of Democratic sort of stances turn a new leaf and actually support Trump. People with influence as well. So that's only further going to fuel his political train, if you will. So yeah, it looks like Trump's going to win this one. With Biden dropping out, it's even more likely. You know, the trust in the Democratic Party isn't really there, right? With most people being, I would say, centrists politically, they are concluding most likely that, wow, the Democrats were willing to have Biden in here with that performance, and now they're only dropping him out of the race because of how bad he looked in the debates. That doesn't look very trustworthy to me, right? That's basically what the average American is thinking, right? And they see Trump survive getting shot at and him raise his fist and shout whatever he shouted, and it seemed very patriotic, right? Very strong as far as leadership. So the average American cheered that on, all right? So that's the effect all this shit has had, right? It's only further helped his chances. What's going on, Hunter? Naruto had 3 months post Sasuke retrieval and pre-time skip. Do you think he could have learned Flying Thunder God in that time? If so, how much in the story changing you think he washes earlier Shippuden? If you learned Flying Thunder God, man, that would certainly be helpful. But individuals with superior reaction time would still react because yes, the Flying Thunder God itself is instantaneous, but anything after the fact is no longer instantaneous, right? The attacks that Naruto would implement are not. Like, for example, if you like the Flying Thunder God at the beginning of Shippuden and use it against Sasuke when him and Team 7 went to try and confront him, it wouldn't make a difference. He's way too slow reactionary as far as reaction time to even hope to challenge Sasuke. Like, yeah, he'd get behind Sasuke instantaneously, but as soon as he tries to attack, Sasuke would be far too fast to allow him to strike him. Now, it would help him with individuals that have relative speed because his reaction time is relative and his travel speed would be instantaneous, right, from point A to point B. So someone, for example, someone like Kakuzu, who seemed to have relative speed at the time, right, based off their interaction and altercation, it would be helpful, right? Be able to teleport behind Kakuzu and hit him with a Rasen Shuriken. I mean, he successfully did it without it, right? He used clones to distract him. But Flying Thunder God, would also be very advantageous in that position. Yeah. Trump with Renegon versus Itachi with Renegon. Itachi. Yeah. Do you think Boruto's too strong in Triple Vortex? No, definitely not after this last chapter. I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but after this chapter, I don't think he's too strong anymore. Yeah. Barrymore Naruto versus Saiyan Saga Vegeta. Naruto. Naruto is perhaps solar system at that point. I think he's at least significantly beyond Starbuster at this point with Baryon mode. And Saiyan Saga Vegeta at best is Starbuster. Small star level. While conversely, Baryon Naruto's, honestly, in my opinion, beyond large star level. Is he solar system? I don't know, but he's certainly far beyond large star level at that point. Being able to dominate Ishiki and Suzuki, so. It's so stupid that people take Sogutsu's statement as if he knows Sasuke has EMS. At best, his statement means that Sasuke only surpassed Orochimaru at the start of the summit. Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's a good point. Kabuto, Edo, Nagato, Edo, Itachi versus Yamato, Obito. Now, all of them together would be a problem, perhaps. On top of the fact that these Edos have infinite chakra, right? We know that the Renegon heavily weighs on Obito's chakra network. He states it himself. He couldn't even handle two, let alone, he couldn't even handle two because of the dense amount of strain on his network, right? His chakra network. So, Edo, Nagato, and Itachi might at first be weaker than Obito, but as the battle ensues and progresses, they wouldn't get fatigued, and Obito would. Then that's when they would have the advantage, right? You'd have Edo Itachi still at full speed, trying to fucking blitz Obito. You'd have Nagato still at full power, using Shibaku Tensei, Shrinner Tensei, animal summonings. So yeah, it would be the former side over Obito. They'd beat him eventually. 1 hour unfiltered combo with Trump. What questions and topics would you ask him and why? If I could ask Trump something or several things, I'd certainly ask him what's his plan if he were to win the presidency again. What's his plan? What policies is he prioritizing? Um, what else would I ask? Yeah, mainly policy questions. I would ask him how is he going to deal with the division that we clearly have, in America with the two-party system being deeply, deeply tribal, right? It's always been tribal, but these days it's tribal to a new level, right? To a level where violence ensues on the fucking streets sometimes. I would ask him, how would you deal with that? Would you try to mitigate that? Would you add fuel to the fire and say fuck all Democrats? Like what would your plan be? I would be very curious to know what his plan is. Um, so yeah, those are some of the questions I'd ask. I think Boruto could pass Naruto in character development. Man, that's a big task. Those are some big shoes to fill. It's possible, but he's not any. Honestly, despite the cold nature that he now has, I don't think he's close. That's just my opinion, and you could say it's bias. You could say it's because of my appeal to Naruto, my connection to Naruto is, how much I admire him as a character, but I don't think he's close to Naruto. I think he's definitely closer, a lot closer after with Two Blue Vortex, but he has a way to go. He has a way to go before he surpasses his father. And as far as character development, yeah. Do you think Obito used Izanami to escape Amaterasu? It's possible. It's definitely possible because we do know he has other eyes at his disposal, right? Let's say he used it, went to the Kagami dimension, got another eye. It's very possible, yeah. Very possible, yeah. I think that's probably more likely than a Conway because it seemed Amaterasu was on Obito already, right? So he can't put it out unless the user does. So it does seem like Izanagi would be something that could negate that. And the only thing maybe that could negate that, right? Conway wouldn't get rid of Amaterasu; it would just fucking come with him to wherever he Conways himself to, right? So if you think about it logically like that, it does seem like Izanagi was possibly used. But yeah, folks, any questions at all? Any questions? Great questions today, by the way. How's work been? It's been good. Schedule is more hectic with responsibility increasing. I work more hours. I mean, blessed to do it for sure. I mean, to be doing the work that I do. Um, but because of it, I have more resources at my disposal for editors and stuff, which I'm certainly going to exploit, right? I'm certainly going to use the resources to get great editors. Shout out to them as always, to put out more content. The podcast I'll figure out. Nothing will stop this train. I'm going to figure it out. If I have to fucking do it by myself, I will. I mean, I did it by myself for a long time. So I'm more confident enough to carry it on my own for a while. So yeah. When are you going to do a call-in show? Well, we'll do that soon. Maybe this month, perhaps. Definitely want the full squad for that. So, do you think that Obito didn't go blind due to his Hashirama cells, or because Kamui just cost very little eyesight from his Mangekyo? It's a good question. You could argue both, perhaps. You could argue both because Kakashi, as the narrative progresses, who didn't have Hashirama cells, was able to use it more often. Right at the beginning of Shippuden, one Kamui and he was gassed, right? He was like bedridden, and then by the war arc, he's spamming it and literally Kamuing entire tailed beasts away, stuff like that with Yuki. So you could argue, due to that, it makes sense that Obito, who is a native Uchiha, is able to use it as frequent as he does, right? But you could also argue that's because of Hashirama cells, right? Because Obito used it so frequently that the Hashirama cells negated the fatigue and the the decline of light in his eye. As we all know, right? The Mangekyo Sharingan loses light the more you use it. But again, Kakashi didn't seem to lose light. He was using it more frequently. So it's definitely an interesting conversation to have when it comes to Obito's MS, right? Certainly. Because of all those factors. Do you think he's not going to make someone survive the eighth gate? Well, yeah, you get killed by it, right? And then you use Izanagi to come back. And due to the short time duration of eighth gate, I mean, you're good. You know, the eighth gate runs out and you're still alive due to Izanagi. So, or you're alive again, I should say. You use Fiverr to get editors or nah? No, I know some great guys in the Discord community, the anime community. I've used Fiverr before though. For the person that made my OC, it was actually from Fiverr. I heard about Batman. I hope he gets well. Yeah, thankfully he's doing well now. He might make it today. I talked to him yesterday. He's doing well. You know, obviously he's not gonna put all his shit out there in public and shit, but he's doing better though. Like, is the point. Which you know, I thank the Lord for that. Yeah, that was you know an unfortunate situation he was in. You know, getting sick and shit. And yeah, I was glad he's doing better though. You know, definitely a very very good thing that he's doing better. I heard about that. How do you think we would deal with Titans in real life? Nukes would absolutely obliterate them all. The technology available in Attack on Titan is ancient compared to the technology of today. Fighter jets would blow them up. We have obviously nuclear weapons. We have chemical warfare that would fucking suffocate all these Titans. It would be quite easy for us to make them go extinct. Let's just say that, you know, with the military technology that's capable today. Um, so yeah, it wouldn't be a problem. You know, the superpowers of the world would make them go extinct quite quickly. Quite quickly. Video, could you please do a what if scenario and dive deeper on what you think would happen? What if Sasuke? Oh, like what if videos? Yeah, I could do that in the future. To be frank, Kakashi was about to go blind in the eye prior to being stolen by Madara as Conway and spam absolutely cost him his eyesight. That's what you're saying. Did you see a meme where Obito sees the nail and Sasuke Susanoo arrow to Conway? Did you see this meme where Obito sees the nail and Sasuke Susanoo arrow in Conway? I don't think I have, no. Who's the strongest Uchiha at their peak? Three-eyed Madara, Tailed Beast Susanoo Sasuke, or DMS Obito? Tailed Beast Susanoo Sasuke. Probably Tailed Beast Susanoo Sasuke, honestly. DMS Obito, unfortunately, he was like already fatigued and shit. So we never get to see him at his peak. But you could argue theoretically that because Kakashi was as powerful as he was, that Obito would be the strongest, as he was able to compete with Kage at Otsutsuki. So after an exponential increase in power. So a theoretical full power DMS Obito with 6-pass amps, because Kakashi had 6-pass amplification as well, would be the strongest. If it's without 6-pass amps, I'd say Sasuke. He'd still be above non-6-pass DMS Obito. How can I get editors to hire to help me out with videos on Discord? Can you send me the link? I know some guys, yeah. Could ask them. They're taking more clients and stuff, yeah. What if Homo sapiens had lived? What would happen? What if Homo sapien had lived? And why? You mean haven't had lived? I'm guessing is what you mean. Obito seeing random shit Kakashi used calmly on and being confused as why he did it. That is funny ass scenario, low key. Yeah. What if Yuji had the Sharingan from the beginning, fully versed, equalized, one Mangekyo ability per eye? How bad does he wash JJK? Guess it depends on the ability. If he has Tsukiyomi, I mean, he's fucking up anyone. Because he grows in physical prowess, his reaction time, his AP, all that grows. We see Sukuna talk about it. We see multiple people talk about it. So he'd wash the vast majority of JJK with the MS. The Amaterasu would be a fucking one-shot to the majority of the verse. Unless you're like Maharaga or something, it'd be a wash for the majority of the verse. He'd be near or perhaps at the top. Sukuna might be the only one, and like Gojo, like those guys would be like the only guys that would be able to deal with that. What if Judas never betrayed Jesus Christ? How would that change history and why? Well, that's a good question. if I'm not mistaken, Judas, uh, because of his betrayal, led to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Right, that's the story. So if that weren't the case, then I'm assuming Jesus Christ wouldn't have been crucified, or at least not for a while. Um, Now, it would be ambiguous as to what would happen. And as far as that story, Jesus was, sort of this godlike figure that was leading this, the Christianity, like Christians, and accomplishing all these miraculous feats, allegedly. So he would just continue to do that, I would guess, until the end of his life, being human, I would assume. He'd still be a pivotal figure in history, right? Because of the alleged things he's done. Um, yeah. Have you read Chainsaw Man? I actually have not read that, but I gotta read that. Heard it's peak. I've seen people argue that Tail Beast amp Sasuke was asked because it's just another 10 Tails amp, which is a fodder amp at that point. I mean, it seemed quite useful when he was fighting Naruto. Naruto had to channel like all the nature energy from the immediate area to combat that. It's pretty impressive. Most favorite video you made for the channel and why? Either with TG because he's the GOAT. That was an honor to do a video with him, or maybe my soccer video where I'm like shitting on soccer for like 50 minutes with my friend. Those are probably my most favorite recent video. Probably Heavy Sasuke versus Sage Mode Naruto. So I think it was well done, and I didn't script it either. Kind of like Billy, I didn't script that video at all. I just did it the same day. Biggest plot hole in the Bible if its stories are taken as having literally happened. That's a good question. Have I read the entire Bible? I'm not saying I'm extremely religious, but religion is a part of my life. I'm not gonna like shove it down people's throats and stuff, but it is. Plot holes in the Bible. There's a lot of symbolism in the Bible, but if you pick it apart solely logically, then perhaps there's some strange occurrences, like I believe it's Job, the book of Job, where Job is tested, right? Despite being Christ's greatest son as far as loyalty and sinlessness and just overall character, he puts Job to the most horrific of occasions, and he does that because the devil basically makes a bet with Christ and says, "I bet if you put him through this, he'll break." And Jesus says, "Okay, let's find out." Right? And he puts Job through these horrific situations, and Job never breaks. Now, the reason I say that logically, if you pick that apart, you could say, well, why would Christ do that? Why would Christ simply do that just to prove a point? It seems like Christ has an ego. Isn't that pride? Right? Isn't that sinful? But that's if you really pick it apart with a really a very, very narrow and sort of purely logical and objective scope, right? I think it's more of the symbolic representation of the story that matters, right? It's meant to show that the devil shouldn't win. That's basically the whole theme, right? The whole theme of that story is that the devil should never win, in that no matter what situations you have to endure, you should never be led astray, right? You should never become corrupt due to the trials that you endure. That's basically the whole point of the story of the book of Job, rather. So, but logically, you could say, why would Christ do that, right? So, I've seen people argue that I could just read that. Was Itachi really going to let Kisame cut Kid Naruto's leg off in the hotel? Honestly, probably not. Probably not. He probably would have thought of something. Probably thought of something. Like when they were about to fight Kakashi and Asuma, he basically said, "Hey, not here, Kisame. We don't want to cause a fucking ruckus. Get the fuck out of here." He would have thought of something. Itachi's very clever. Very, very clever. So, if you could give Yuji a unique curse technique, what would it be? For someone of Yuji's personality, because it seems these domain expansions kind of correlate to these people's personalities, right? Like, for example, Gojo with his infinity, being a prodigy, being untouchable, like it correlates to who he is, right? Or Sukuna Malevolent Shrine, or these other individuals, Hakari and guys of that those individuals. For Yuji, he's a very, very persistent and highly ambitious, tough individual. I would say like a high AP domain curse technique would be very fitting for him. Um, some variation of that suits him. It'd be pretty cool. Are regrets memories of what we wished happened or things that only mere inspire growth of ourselves? It depends on the memory, I'd say. We have good memories, bad memories. The bad memories can serve as lessons. The good memories can serve as moments to cherish. Depends. Also, do regrets stay forever in our lives, or can we eventually laugh at it and move on? Like again, it certainly depends on the regrets, right? If it's something that isn't too grandiose in your life, then you could laugh about it in the future. Like you embarrassing yourself on a first date that doesn't matter 10 years later. I mean, you might regret what happened, but you're not gonna dwell on it, right? Most people won't. But if it's something else like, oh, you fucked over your best friend and backstabbed him, you're probably gonna live with regret for a long, long time. Maybe the rest of your life, depending on how bad the betrayal was. Depends. Because Sasuke ever learned Sage Mode, or he tried, so would he accomplish it? It's theory. I don't see why not. Especially now that he's pure of heart, which seems to be a prerequisite for Sage Mode, right? Orochimaru could not become a perfect Sage because essentially the individuals that determined that, right, the snake sages or whatever said he was too evil. Sasuke's no longer like that. So if he were to be freed from being a Tentail's clone source of power, then I don't see why not. I think he could if he wanted to. Top 5 favorite abilities, powers, in fiction. I would say Super Saiyan, easy pick. Infinity, honestly, is peak. It really is. I'd probably say, what else? What other abilities are peak? Bankais in general. Well, my favorite Bankai specifically. What's my favorite Bankai? It might be Aizen's. Well, scratch that. He never uses Bankai. What am I talking about? He uses Zanpakuto. I mean, currently in the narrative, I've never seen the Bankai. I don't know if he uses it later on at the end of Bleach, but I've never seen it. Maybe just Aizen Zanpakuto. Fuck it. I mean, that shit is fire. He's able to alter all 5 senses. Pretty cracked. I like the ability in general. What other abilities are pretty Tsukuyomi? I really focus Tsukuyomi. I mean, I'm biased. Itachi's my favorite character in Naruto, but yeah. And I'd say probably what other abilities are out there? Honestly, Shadow Clones is pretty dope because of all the perks you get with that. I'd say Shadow Clones as well. Sage Mode versus the 7. Oh, Sage Mode Naruto rather versus the 7. He'd absolutely destroy everybody very casually. He'd be too fast, too powerful. He's way beyond any of the 7. Speed-wise, it just blows him out of the water. It's not even a competition. Does meditation stillness exist in Naruto? Whenever I saw Naruto try to reach mode, he saw the meditation pose, so maybe. Yeah, it's basically the idea of controlling your chakra, which requires calmness, right, and focus. So yeah, meditation and stillness certainly important. Thoughts on separating the art from the artist? That's a good question, or a good comment rather. I think that is important, right? And art comes in various forms, right? Like for example, think of a good one. Bill Cosby is a horrible piece of shit, right? But he's a great actor. Whether you want to admit it or not, he is a great actor. He's a piece of fucking shit, but his ability to act is very good. Another example would be, let's see here. In the sports world, John Jones, he was a fuck up in his early 20s, but he was the best fighter on the planet. It's just a fact. And a lot of people, when they hear those sort of things, they insinuate that you're praising the character of this person. That's not the case. Bill Cosby is a disgusting piece of shit. Like, that's a fact, but he's a great actor. It doesn't mean that you think he's a great person. right? You're separating the art from the artist. John Jones, same thing. He was a fuck up and kind of a screw up, but he's a hell of a fighter. Um, in general, so I don't think there's anything wrong with separating the art from the artist. I don't see a problem with that. I really don't. As long as you make it clear that someone like Bill Cosby is a piece of shit, I don't see the problem with thinking he's a good actor. You're not suggesting he's a great person. Clearly, he's not. He's a fucking horrible piece of shit. But you know, it's separating the art from the artist. I don't see a problem with it. No, I don't. How did Kabuto get Sage Mode if the animals don't accept evil students? I think he somehow concocted it. It was weird because he like built upon the curse mark and became a perfect sage, maybe synthetically. He's like the only case of like synthetic perfect sage mode replication. It's fucking weird. It really is. Um, it is a strange occurrence that he was able to accomplish that, but it seems that's the case because he would certainly be evil, like you said. He's clearly not pure of heart, right? So I think it's the case of Orochimaru not being good enough learner to learn Sage Mode. But I think it was stated that his morality is why he couldn't. I'm pretty sure it's stated. Could a guy even touch Obito, or would he just phase through? He would blitz Obito because his reaction speed is so great that Obito wouldn't be able to react in time. If 8 Gates guy would have used Night Guy on Obito, right, when he's Orange Mask Obito, he wouldn't be able to perceive Obito in time. And it'd be it. Theoretically, you could argue that his perception speed might be enough. And at that point, he wouldn't touch him. You're right. He wouldn't touch Obito. He would just phase through. We see a flashback of him learning under the stage, though. He learned that shit naturally. I'd have to watch, but I'm pretty sure it's stated that he was too evil, and that's why he couldn't. If I could hit Madara, I would say he could hit Obito. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, Obito didn't have Conway, to be fair, but yeah, he most likely would hit Obito as well. A-Train versus Maeve. That's an interesting matchup, right? Because A-Train is obviously faster, but Maeve is more powerful. There's a question of, because A-Train hurt Maeve, there's that question. I would say you'd have a hard time hurting her, right? She's able to take shots from like speeding trucks and shit like that, and able to give a holding back Homelander a hard time. I would lean towards Maeve. She trained for like 3 months, right, to fight Homelander when she was preparing to take him on along with the boys and company. I would say Maeve. Maeve would most likely win that due to her durability and her AP. Sage Kabuto versus Sukuna. Sage Kabuto would absolutely obliterate and blitz and probably one-shot Sukuna before he could even perceive what happens. Adult Soccer versus Madara. Hey man, that's one of the most angering topics, but Sakura slams Madara. What's going on, Raspberry? Alright, folks, go about 10 more minutes, unless someone donates, and I'll do the dollar per minute thing. I think Batman's probably not going to join us, but it's all good. You know, his health comes first. Make sure to keep him in your prayers. I think he's past the worst part of what he was dealing with, but either way, keep him in your prayers. Health is everything. Family and health. That's probably the most important thing in this life. Family and health. So make sure to keep him in your prayers. I never get a notification when you stream anymore for some reason. Yeah, I think as long as you have the bell on, I think they show. I'm not sure, but like the notification bell, I think you have to like make sure it's turned on to all or some shit like that. Yeah, but I think even then sometimes it won't show. But maybe Kabuto tricked the Snake Sage into teaching him Sage Mode. He might have made himself seem like a good person. That's true. But those like old Sage masters seem pretty wise. But yeah, man, it's possible. Did you see what happened to Mike Perry? Crazy how bad he was. It's different when you're boxing without any gloves and it's bare knuckle, and when you're boxing with boxing gloves on. Jake Paul's been doing that for several years. Mike Perry's been doing bare knuckle. I thought it would be more competitive, so I was impressed by Jake. I was impressed. He's bigger than Mike, which certainly was an advantage. He dropped because of the power he possessed, because of the size that he carried. What happened to Batman? He got really sick, like real fucking sick, and was in the hospital and shit. But thank God he's out. and I think the worst is past. But yeah, keep him in your prayers anyway. Yeah. Let's just hope that all this shit ends and he's back to to normal. So talked to him yesterday. He seemed great. So yeah, God willing, he'll be all right. If Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fights like Jake Paul, that's what I was talking about that today actually with a friend of mine. That would be an interesting fight because here's the thing: Chavez lost to Silva in a close fight. Paul beat Silva in a close fight. So I think that there's some relativity there. I think it'd be interesting, honestly. Be interesting to see that. How long do you think DBZ and Naruto will keep the anime going, like the story? Dragon Ball, interesting to kind of deduce. Dragon Ball's been going on for 3 decades, over 3 decades, as a whole, right? From Dragon Ball to Super. Naruto has Boruto, which is still running. Dragon Ball is hard to deduce. Boruto, it seems things are picking up in the narrative with what's happening with Jura and things of that nature, but I would say a couple of years at least with Boruto. Dragon Ball, it's really hard to kind of triangulate that, but what's more useful in life, IQ or wisdom? That's a good question. That's a good question. IQ basically indicates your ability to absorb information and deduce things. Wisdom, at least it's implied to be from experience, right? You already have this knowledge rather than having to absorb it. It's been done. You've had the experience. Mm, Overall, I'd probably say IQ because we all start from zero, right, in this life. So if we're born with insanely high IQ, the wisdom will come quickly, right? Because our ability to absorb information and come to deductions. If you're an older individual, um, I mean, even then, IQ would be ideal. But here's the thing, wisdom implies IQ to an extent. You could argue that a guy with a high IQ that has no life would be dumb as shit regardless and have no wisdom, as opposed to an individual with a lower IQ with a ton of experience and tons of situations he's been in. He'd have more wisdom despite having a lower IQ. Um, That's a good question, actually. It makes you think. I'd say in general IQ, but there's other factors that play a role. Your environment, your character, like how industrious you are, how ambitious you are. Like all these things matter because they will also factor into you be willing to experience things, just whether you have a high IQ or not, right? Because if you're very complacent and lazy, it doesn't matter how high your IQ is, right? You'll never gain wisdom despite your high IQ. So it's a good question. It makes you think. I'd probably say in general IQ in general. Prime J the Great versus Madara. Yeah, Madara is a goat. Orochimaru versus Kakuzu. Orochimaru would slam Kakuzu badly. Chavez would be Jake's most skilled opponent in my opinion. He could be just as big as well. Yeah, he's a big dude. He's a big dude. Yeah. Assuming he's not screwed over in negotiations. Jake's the A side, so likely. Yeah, Jake would definitely be the A side. Definitely. That would be a good fight. That would be a good fight. Now, I would lean towards Chavez, but yeah, that would be an interesting fight. Right away, if thinking Itachi versus Madara, who was more wiser of the two and why? Definitely, uh, man, Madara lived longer, but Itachi was very wise for his age. Very wise. But they had two different ideologies. I guess it's the ideology that you deem as one that stems from more wisdom, right? And they're both understandable. Madara was his whole, ideology was basically allowing life to progress the way it naturally does is futile, right? Because life is filled with cyclical war and trauma and feelings of hatred and love, right? Because, like Obito said, man that feels love also bears the risk of feeling hatred. That's true. Madara basically instilled that ideology into Obito, and it's very true. But Itachi's ideology is very, very understandable as well. Honestly, I'd probably say Madara. Honestly, he's probably more wise overall. He's had more life experience. He's seen more. He's done more. He's generally just lived longer. I'd probably say Madara. When Obito went to recruit Nagato, Yahiko and Konan to his side before Yagi's death, what if the three of them follow Obito? Oh, they get fucked up. I mean, they wouldn't have a fucking chance in hell against Obito. Not at that point. Nagato was still very green, and Yahiko and Konan just fought her. Nagato was very green with his abilities. You didn't get to talk about Jura versus Boruto or the MCU's future of the stream. Maybe next time. Yeah, I mean, if you guys can ask about that too. But yeah, there's not much time left. Yeah, I'll talk about that more too. Just make sure to remind me too. Yeah. Who do you is what was the most talented Uchiha ever? Who do you think or was the most talented? Most talented ever? Pure talent? Probably Madara. No six pads amps, no nothing. I'd say Madara probably. Did you see KSI pulled out of the 2v1 he was going to do? That shit was fucking dumb, man. What the fuck is he thinking? I hope Chavez fails to get to the Jake fighting fights KSI. That'd be interesting, right? They both had competitive fights with Tommy Fury. And that would kind of answer the question of who is the best YouTuber boxer in the world, basically. All right, so that would be that would be an interesting fight to see. I agree. Who had the worst life in Naruto? The worst life? Honestly, probably fucking Gar. Well, Gara had a good later life. Maybe Itachi. His whole life was fucking dog shit. Like, not his whole life. His childhood was okay. He had parents and shit. Who had a horrible life from beginning to end? Just pure hell. Haku had a shit life. I mean, he was a fucking tool. Like, seeing slaughter before her very eyes. Pretty bad. Kimimara's life is pretty shit. He sees his, dealing with all this shit, then he gets sick and he dies. That's pretty fucking sad. Kimimara's up there. Gaara, Itachi, Haku. Yeah, those guys are probably the best that come to mind. It's pretty bad. Could Saitama fight off Namek Saga Frieza? Current Saitama would probably fuck up Frieza. Yeah, Namek Saga. More than likely. More than likely. I'm not gonna say for sure, but thoughts on Virtue's Minato versus Hashirama. I need to watch that. Shout out to Virtue, by the way. I haven't seen that video, but I'm gonna check it out for sure. Shout out to him. Shout out to Sage. It's my dog too. TG, my dog. These are all my dogs for sure. We could have Virtue on the pod for sure. Definitely. How do you feel about Naruhina, and would you prefer Naru Sakura? Fuck no, I wouldn't. I'm glad that he went with Hinata, the girl that actually was there for him and was down for him, unlike fucking Sakura. I'm glad that Sakura doesn't deserve Naruto. That's the truth. So Sasuke had the worst life in Naruto, was forced to watch his people genocide thousands of times. I mean, his middle childhood wasn't the best, obviously. He saw fucking his brother kill his fucking family and shit. It's pretty bad, but his early life was alright, and his later life was alright. He had a daughter, and but someone like Kimimaro, his entire life was fucking dog shit. Like the horrible clan history he had, and then being a fucking tool, getting sick and shit. The whole life was fucking horrible. But Sasuke's up there too, though. Yeah, he didn't have the best life, obviously. Yeah. Reed, did you hear the first right hand Jake 3 broke Mike Perry's rib? I think he may actually be juicing. I don't know if he's juicing. I think the guy just has pure power. He's always had power. It's theoretically possible that he's juicing, but I think that dude's pretty talented. Because steroids aids you, but power isn't something it like greatly amplifies. It amplifies it, but not greatly. You're not going to see someone that hits like has fucking pillow hands become Francis Ngannou due to fucking steroids. It's possible though, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Original current Broly, the honest truth. Original Broly was kind of fucking like the whole premise behind him was kind of stupid with the whole shit and like the current Broly. The premise behind his like rise and introduction was much better. Being just sort of ostracized from society and being trained to be just a fucking primal ass warrior by his dad and come into contact with society for the first time, with Frieza taking him in and then him meeting Vegeta and Goku and his dad dying. Like it was a much better story told as opposed to the original. Like he's cool as the original, but the whole premise of him hating Goku over some dumb shit and crying, like it's dumb. Like it's not. He was powerful and dope and shit. He had Black Force energy, but Current Broly to me is much better written, rather. So, and obviously much more powerful. I mean, you fucked up Blue Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. So he arguably had the greatest amp and power we've ever seen. I mean, like of one person without having to fuse or anything. It was fucking ridiculous how powerful it became. Goggins versus Tate, who you got? Like in a fight? I mean, Tate was a professional. As far as who I listen to more, I mean, they're two different sort of influencers. Goggins is just more on motivation and discipline, right? Tate also does that, but Tate also talks about other things um, like the dating marketplace and all that. As far as discipline and motivation, I'd probably say Goggins is better. He's a better motivational speaker when it comes to those aspects. Tate talks about a variety of things, yeah, but Goggins hits different in comparison when it comes to discipline and motivation and stuff like that. Original Broly should have hated all Saiyan instead of just Goku. Yeah, exactly, dude. It was like, what the fuck? Like over that? Like, come on, that's just stupid. This made sense. His dad died, and Frieza fucking told him that Goku Vegeta did it. That makes sense. That's his fucking dad, it wasn't some dumb shit. So yeah, I agree. But yeah, folks, about 5 more minutes, and I'll depart. Again, keep Babin in your prayers for sure. Another good opponent for KSI would be Uriah Hall, the MMA guy who just fought Chavez. Uriah Hall had so much potential, dude. So much potential. Just, I think it's his mentality. Like he doubts his ability or something. But that dude is super talented. A lot of people thought he was gonna be the next Silva, but he wasn't a bad fighter. But the potential he had was crazy. um, Uriah Hall would be a good opponent, though. I agree. God damn, I got the fucking hiccups out of nowhere. But speaking of combat, I said this earlier in the pod. The beef with noodles will continue, but you have to subscribe to my new channel, the Clips channel, because I have some new combat content. I sparred today, and I trained today, actually, before I came here to stream. And I'm gonna talk my shit again. Why? Because one, it's fun, and two, I entertain you guys. So make sure to subscribe there. I came up with some creative content there as far as beef is concerned, stuff like that. That will continue there. So make sure to subscribe to that. You'll see more training and stuff like that. It was a fucking hellacious training session. We went up kind of up north, higher altitude. It was hot as fuck up there. And we grinded, sparred, pad work, all of it. So if you want to see that, you should go subscribe to the Clips channel. That's where that's going to be. So, yeah, folks. Any final questions here? Any final questions? I've been training boxing and it got a lot better. Yeah, boxing is all about persistence. Repetition is key. Just rep it. You rep shit, you get better. Definitely. That's life in general. You got to grind on your craft. So. I've definitely put on more size, so I do feel the difference in power as well. I have more power. Wait, so the fight's still between you two? If it happens, it's gonna be next year. More than likely it will. I don't see why not. And I'm sort of in this position right now in my career, as far as outside of YouTube, my other career. That's why I didn't do it this year, but next year I don't see why not. Fly his ass out here and beat his ass. I never stopped training, by the way. That never stopped. I just didn't fucking post it. train anyway. You know? You see, Sean Strickland wanted to fight Goggins for some reason. That shit is dumb. I don't know what the fuck Sean's tripping, man. Like, the fuck are you talking about? Fighting a fucking dude that hasn't fought before? You're tripping. I've kind of lost like appeal to Sean. Sean's just I don't know, man. He used to say, "Oh, I'm a fighter's fighter." Now he's like, "Oh, I'm not gonna fight unless I get paid." And he's calling out like people that don't fight and shit. Like, dude, what the fuck? I don't know. I'm not as big of a fan of Sean as I once was. I'll just say that. Do you think Kona could beat Sasori? I don't know if she can be poisoned. If he now in I know in the game continuity she technically beats him, but no, I don't think she beats him in the canonical literature. No, Jiraiya effortlessly just fucking destroyed her. And Sasori to me is above signing with the scaling that I've provided. So, but all right, folks, I think that's about it for this stream. Again, one more time, make sure to keep Batman in your prayers. I'm sure he's good though. God willing, he'll be fine. Talked to him yesterday, seems great. So, it's definitely good to hear from him. Try to be back next week. I'll try to tell you guys ahead of time when I'm going to stream. So, hopefully, these can get popping and try to get the whole squad as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Expect content to be coming soon. Really quick, thanks to you, Batman Shinobi, for the scaling YouTuber tips. I'm at 6 subs and doing something well in Rumble and span. Hey, good shit, man. Just keep grinding on that. Good stream, bro. Great stuff, man. Appreciate y'all, man. Appreciate y'all for coming out. Don't worry, nothing will stop this train. Unlike some people who went on this community, I'm much more driven. I don't fucking post every 2 months or 3 months. This shit won't stop. Nothing will stop this train. But we'll see you next time, folks. Stay classy.